You guys look bad. You look ugly. Like, it doesn't look good. I'm sorry, sometimes you smell bad. I'm just gonna say it. I don't care. Because you don't know how to keep it up. And also, your hair textures aren't made for it. So, do you want to end up with bald spots and looking crazy? Don't do it. And also, Josie, Yaz, and I have all very much so made people feel uncomfortable around us for wearing braids and locks if you're white. And I don't care if your great-great-grandfather is black. Do you navigate the world as a black person? Oh, you don't? Then don't wear braids and locks. It's that easy.
First things first, which one of y'all got the copyright to cornrows and braids? Ah, yes, the verdict is in. Thank you so much, Charlie. The spokespeople for the black community have spoken. White women can't wear braids. Now, if I could only find out who voted in this meeting. Hello everyone, my name is Rogan and this is This Bahamian Gyal. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. If you like what I'm doing here on my platform, consider becoming a subscriber and a member. So, with that being said, let's get into the video. Today's topic. Well, it comes courtesy of one of my audience members. I'm not going to call her name. I'm just going to read her question and it'll become very evident what this video is about. She says, I was hoping you could give your opinion on this in a video. I'm white and I would really like to have box braids.
Oh, here it goes.
I want them because I just don't have time to care for my hair now that it's longer. A friend told me that I can't because of my race and I would be stealing others' culture. So I didn't get them because I didn't want to offend anyone. What do you think? Love your channel. So I responded to her, but I wanted to get into it with you all. And my first thought when I saw her DM was, why do you think that you need to have anyone's permission when it comes to a hairstyle that you're going to put in your head? Because what if they said no? Then what? This whole situation is just nuts to me. And I know it's been going on for quite some time now where people are accusing white people of culturally appropriating braids and other hairstyles that have traditionally been worn by black women. But the thing is, nobody owns a hairstyle. Black people certainly don't own braids. Braids have existed from time. Box braids were found on Egyptian mummies. The Greeks had their halo braids. Native Americans wore their pigtail braids. And China had the staircase braid. Braids have been in existence all over the world. It all just boils down to who we give the credit to, because who's to say that Greeks weren't rocking box braids or cornrows? There are civilizations that we know very little about. We don't know how they style their hair. Some black women say white women wearing braids and cornrows is disrespectful to the black culture. How is it disrespectful to the black culture? If they're not saying anything demeaning or degrading about the hairstyle, if they're actually wearing it because they like it and they think it's fly. Like, how is that disrespectful? I don't see how someone who is showing love for a hairstyle is being offensive. People can get offended, but their being offended doesn't make their feelings law.
Hey guys, so I have a question for black women and men, doesn't matter. So if you don't like any other race but your own wearing box braids or just simply braiding their hair, explain to me why. And then if you say you really don't care but then get mad when I braid my hair, please explain why. Because I'm not going to sit up here as a white girl with my hair braided every time I take a damn picture or a video and then put in the caption, thank you so much for allowing me to use your culture. It's just not going to happen. I know the history behind box braids. All of this is my hair that I did myself. But even if it was fake hair and I went somewhere and they did box braids on me, how is it affecting you? I braid my hair because I like my hair braided. That's it. So you guys can continue to sit up here and hate on me, but it really, really shows your insecurities. And it doesn't hurt me because I love myself. If you're hating on me because of my hair, I feel bad for you.
Here's what I need the world to know, because this is something that I've noticed, like, particularly in the past 7-8 years, The majority of things that we think people are talking about in the real world, they are not. Social media tricks us. It tricks us into thinking that the things that we see online, the things that we think they've gone viral, like, oh my gosh, everybody is talking about this thing online, like that's happening in the real world. And I've found that it's not. When I mention certain things that I've seen on social media, people are like, who? What? Like, they got so much going on in their daily lives. They don't have time to be following social media, right? And they don't even care that much. And who cares if 10 million people say, oh, white women can't wear braids? There are 8 billion people on the planet. You see how small that number is compared to how many people are on the planet? Like, okay, that's a small number. That might be a lot for a lot of people, but I mean, that's a small number in the grand scheme of things. Another thing I think people need to know is that I found that the majority of Black people are so busy with their own lives. They got their own situations going on. Like, they don't have time to be policing on one head. But of course, you have the cultural appropriation police coming out in full force and full uniform to warn people not to touch our stuff. And by stuff, I mean their hairstyles. I got into it. Let me tell you something. I'm always up for a good debate. Or as we put it in the Bahamas, a good row. I got into it a few years ago with a Black girl. She's a Black American girl who said that white people who wear braids need to acknowledge, every time they wear braids, they need to acknowledge that their hairstyle is stolen from Black people's culture. So you expect, you meaning her and anybody else who thinks like her, that white people are supposed to walk around with their freshly installed box braids, eyes cast down to the ground, acknowledging with every step they take that this hairstyle in my head is stolen from Black culture. Oh, good morning, Susan. Before you ask me how my weekend was, I want to acknowledge, first of all, that this hairstyle was stolen from Black people and Black culture. I just want to put that out there, okay? Just so you know, this is not my hair. This is not my culture. I just want you to know that before. No, I just wanted to let you know that.
3 hours later.
Oh, Dave, thank you so much. I'm glad you like my hair, but please don't praise me. Praise Black women, because it's from them that I stole this hairstyle. I just wanted to acknowledge that. So if you see a Black woman, give her the praise. Thanks, Dave. If that's what y'all are hoping for, good luck. White people, let me tell y'all something real quick. If y'all want to sit down for 5 hours in the salon to get these tight, itchy, expensive braids installed for $500, because some of them has cost $500, go for it. Who gonna stop you? Not me. We live in a global village, and I feel like culture is meant to be shared. I think it's very important to make clear distinctions between someone who respects our culture and wants to participate in it versus someone who is disrespectful and wants to discriminate against it.
I say white girls shouldn't wear braids. I'm not saying that because I just don't want you to wear my hairstyle.
Whenever I see people going off about cultural appropriation like this, I have one thing to say, and that is cultures are not owned. Cultures have always been and will continue to be shared. Which means Kim K can do this, and Hailey Bieber can line her lips for goodness sake without being called out for cultural appropriation. They're not appropriating anything. And yes, people are going to make profits off of things that have been traditionally Black, just like Black people profit off of things that have been traditionally white. This girl's going to have a real rude awakening when she goes to some place like, I don't know, Puerto Rico, Mexico, any of the islands, and finds out there's a lot of non-Black people running around with braids in. When you complain about cultural appropriation, you're essentially saying Black people do your things, white people do your things, and no crossover. I'm getting hints of Jim Crow racism.
How are you sharing your culture if someone else can't partake in it? What if you decided that you wanted to have a party at your house? You wanted a taco themed party because you know food is a huge part of culture. Are you not allowed to partake in that? What if you're having a party at your house and you decide to play some reggae music, some calypso music, some soca music, some rake and scrape music, and a Caribbean person says, turn that off. That's my culture. Don't be playing my music. Go play your own music. You're appropriating my Caribbean culture. What you gonna do? As a Black person, I'm not about to memorize no long list of hairstyles that I can't wear. And I seriously doubt that any white person is going to do the same. And for the Black women, and I just got into it with somebody just a few days ago on TikTok. But for the women who are like, no, white people don't need to be getting their hair braided, and Black braiders don't need to be doing their hair. Let me tell y'all something. These hair braiders ain't turning down no business. I don't know one African hair braider in the DMV who turning down $300. They'll have 6 gals on your one head braiding your hair. White, black, green, purple, don't matter. Just have their money. Cash App. And honestly, let me also say in the Bahamas, and I'm going to speak for the Bahamas here, it's not unusual to see white people, particularly the white tourists, right, coming off the cruise ships or coming into the country and wanting their hair braided. I mean, that's like standard fare. They come in, that's the experience they want, and ain't nobody judging them. Those hair braiders making a living off of doing that stuff. And not only are they making a living, they don't care, because it's not a big deal in the Bahamas that a white person wants their hair braided. And I don't look at them any kind of way. I think the only time I probably look at them, I'll be like, damn, you paying $5 for one freaking braid? You getting one braid for like $4 or $5, child? My cousin Vanessa could do your whole head for $80. What you saying? As far as I'm concerned, as long as that person is not making fun of that person's culture and being disrespectful, I have no issue with them wearing their hair in braids. Now, one thing I'm not going to say is that, oh, it's just hair, because it's not just hair. Hair can be very political. There are a lot of Black women who have been denied jobs because of their hair or been discriminated against because of their hair texture. So it's not just hair for me. So for my non-Black viewers, here's something that I and a lot of Black women have an issue with. A lot of times in the past and today, Black women will rock cornrows or braids or different hairstyles that you do see very prevalent inside of the Black community. And these hairstyles are called unprofessional or unkempt or just ghetto. That's one word that often comes up. I've had my hair in braids. I've had my hair in 2-strand twists. I've had my hair in twist outs. I've had my hair in bantu knots. I've had my hair in all types of styles. And particularly as somebody who has natural hair, I can tell you that people do kind of look at you kind of strange. And this has happened even in the Bahamas, particularly on jobs. Like if you're like in a more professional setting, especially back in the day. I remember working a job where my boss told me that, like, what are you going to do with your hair? Like, you should probably just perm your hair. Like, I got a lot of that. Like, you should just perm your hair. And I guess the contrarian in me was like, oh, you have a problem with my hair? Maybe I should just let this grow wild just to spite you. So there are Black women who get inappropriate comments about their hair being untidy or unruly or dry looking or it's just not pretty. So unfortunately for a lot of Black women who wanted to be promoted in their workplace, or they just wanted to be able to peacefully exist without people judging them for their hair, they started to adopt more European standards of styling their hair, whether that was relaxing their hair, whether that was putting in weaves or wigs, anything to sort of manipulate their hair either through stretching or through chemical processing. That has definitely happened. And it is a slight to Black women when their hair is considered to be unprofessional or ghetto. And then when they see their white counterparts wearing that same hairstyle, it's praised like, oh, it's so avant-garde. It's just so, so that can be a source of frustration that I certainly understand. But I want to go on record as saying that a lot of the discrimination that I got about my hair came from Black people, to be honest with you. And this wasn't everywhere, but I've been on jobs before where my boss asked me, like, what are you going to do with your hair? Like, are you going to perm it? Because I've been natural for a number of years. And I'm like, no, I have no intentions of perming my hair. And they're like, are you going to gel it down? And I'm like, no. Like, why do I have to manipulate my hair, to like appease my boss or to appear more professional? What they mean is more European, or to mimic Caucasian hair. Like, that's not how my hair grows out of my scalp. Why am I being asked to do that? I remember being on a job one time where I was wearing braids and I must have had the braids in for like 3 weeks. But man, y'all know 3 weeks ain't a long time to put braids in your hair, to have them in your hair. And I'm somebody who takes a lot of pride in my appearance. And I was not going to be walking around with like a messy hair or anything like that. My hair is always pretty neat. And my then boss was like, well, how long are you going to have the braids in? Mind you, I said they were in for like 2.5, 3 weeks. And I was like, why? And she was just like, well, there's somebody who asked like how long you were going to have your braids in. And I was like, oh, really? Well, let me know who asked how long I was going to have my braids in and I'll have a conversation with them. And she just kind of smiled. I said, let me know who it was who asked that question so I can talk directly to them. Of course, she didn't offer it up. I'm like, get out of here. Like, I would never bring that to an employee. Like, if somebody had a problem with one of my employees' hair and she had them in braids, I would have been like, why are you concerned about this person's hair? But, and it's just like silly comments like that. But I've gotten a lot of that from Black women. Earlier, I mentioned that there are some Black women who have to deal with texturism. So what do I mean by that? Like, if you're Black and you have like a looser or curlier textured hair, that is seen as more favorable by some people, not just white people or non-Black people, but even some Black people, they prize up like a looser, wavier texture hair or curly hair, and hair like mine, which is considered 4C or more tightly coiled. That's like at the lower rung of the ladder. They don't consider that hair to be beautiful. So people have to deal with that as well in the Black community, in the natural hair community. It's just so unfortunate. I remember being back home. This was 2016, and there was a Bahamian girl. And this was news that went viral. And I'm sure some of you who are watching this, who aren't even Bahamian, probably remember this. But she had been suspended from school because she wore her natural hair. Now, keep in mind, the Bahamas is predominantly Black. The country is predominantly Black, and the principal was Black. And she had an issue with her puff. The girl's hair is so thick and healthy and beautiful, but they were like, no, you need to basically wear a more professional hairstyle at school. It's crazy. Now in the Bahamas, all school kids wear uniforms, everybody, whether you're in a private school or public school setting. So a lot of these children, their only expression is through their hair, or maybe the types of school shoes that they wear. But the hair is a major thing. And so it's like you're already conforming and looking like everybody else, and your one bit of expression is being taken away from you. And what was crazy about that situation is another girl who had natural hair, but it was like a looser, wavier texture. They didn't have an issue with her hair. It was just this girl's hair because it was like a big afro puff. So I think it is kind of crazy when Black women are judged by white standards. And the amount of manipulation that a lot of us have to do just to be seen, or just to have our hair be seen as acceptable and professional, is just insane. So I certainly do understand a lot of Black women's frustration. But anyway, back to my topic. I personally, I don't have any issue with white women wearing braids. If that's what you want to do, I have zero issue with it. I will happily acknowledge that a lot of the braids and cornrows that we see them coming out of the Black community. We see a lot of Black women wearing those protective hairstyles, as they're called. But we don't own it. We don't own it. And I don't think that we have the authority to police what somebody else does with their hair. And I'm sure there are going to be people who disagree. That's fine. Disagree. But I'm saying for me, and the young lady asked me, and she's going to have to make her own decision. I don't give you permission, but I will say that I don't have a problem with it. I don't care. And I think a lot of Black people don't care either. Anyway, this has been a very long video, and I didn't intend for it to be this long. So let's just jump into my questions of the day. My questions of the day. For my Black audience, do you care if white and other non-Black women wear cornrows and braids in their hair? If so, why? Explain in depth why you care, or why you think they shouldn't wear them. And for my non-Black audience members, do you feel a level of apprehension about wearing what has been deemed Black hairstyles, like cornrows and braids? Do you fear wearing these hairstyles because you feel you're going to be bullied or harassed? Drop your comments down below in the comment section. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. I enjoy having these types of conversations. I thank the young lady who reached out to me to ask me the question. I know it's been a long time since I, spoke to her and gave my response, but I feel like this video will open up some more conversation. This is not a new subject. It is certainly not a new subject, but one that I think still has a little bit of legs. There's still more we can talk about with this subject. So weigh in down below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next week, God willing. Bye-bye. Love you. Mwah.